All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fedora from Akatrade, and I believe we're able to give you the best. So this is the solution for the shop vibe exercise that was being assigned to everyone, and the application is located on this IP address. Let me browse it up for you. So we have shop vibe right here, and you can see the amazing interface. Let's play around with it a little bit. So I'll first go to the login page. You can check out the products as well, and because we can do a lot of things with this application itself. You get now. So let's just play around with this for about 3 to 2 minutes just to understand how it works. You get now. So you may be wondering what Akatrade is. Akatrade is a new fund organization, and it focuses on cybersecurity and ethical hacking. So what we do at Akatrade is to train interns into becoming the best they want in the field they want to specialize in. And here's just one of the tasks that we drew them in. So it is pretty intense in here, and it is strictly no beginners allowed because we want people who are able to contribute to the whole community. So we advise you take maybe the junior cybersecurity analyst course on Cisco, or just take any foundational course before coming in here. So let's try creating a new user just to see if we can make use of that user to play around this application itself. So we'll be creating a user Jordan, and giving it the username Jordan as well. So full name Jordan Michigan, and username Jordan. Then for the email part, you can make use of temp mail in case you are working with an application that requires code. But since this application does not require any sign-in code, then we can make use of just our normal any email, jordan@gmail.com, even though it does not exist. So I'll create a password, Jordan123 hash. That's the password I want to create right now. So let's have it. So I'm going to create that password, Jordan123 hash, and make it to create my account. So the next thing right now is to sign in, and I can sign in as Jordan123 hash. Now that being done, don't forget that what we're trying to do is to exploit an SQL injection attack in this application. So we're currently logged in as Jordan, and first thing we want to do, since we're exploiting an SQL injection based attack, an SQL injection based attack is a type of attack that works with the applications database. Most databases have been built using SQL programming language, also known as structured query language. Now, if what we're looking for right now is an input method, something that makes us communicate directly with the database itself. And if you look at that, when it comes to products have been added in a web application from the database. So all these products comes from the database. So if we're able to see anything like a filter or a search panel that allow us to communicate with the database on what we want to see, then we can take that as our injection point and start trying to put things in there. If you look at this filter I'm clicking on right now, you will see a change in the URL having category equal to, and you will see that some filters have been made. So that equal to sign followed by whatever we click on. Then like fashion now, you see when we click on fashion, we have this as well. So this creates a filter for us and also an injection point. We can inject anything into that equal to symbol, and anything we search for using that equal to sign from that equal to place will be displayed in our application itself. So we're going to be taking that as our injection point right now. So let's go to our Bob suits. Let us go to the application itself and look up for that one we browse for itself. We're making use of the electronics. So you can see the request for each. Now for electronics, what I'll do is to send it to the repeater because I want to repeat that same request again. But while repeating it this time, it will be with some payloads. So I'll be including payloads into it so that I'll be able to perform much more better functions and do what I want. Now, please take note that when highlighting this, don't highlight the equal to sign before the electronics and the space after it. The space before the HTTP one, don't highlight it either. So just that part, then go to under URL encoding, and you can put in your payloads right there. Now, the most basic payload of all is or one equal to one. Now, that or one equal to one payload, what does it do? What the payload does is that it sets all condition in the database to true. So when we say or one equal to one, then we are trying to set all the condition in database to true. Look at an instance where you are retrieving something from the database and we you say something like select, maybe how should I put this for you? I want you to be able to relate it to something. That's right. But I want you to understand that when you say one equal to one, that means you are saying it should exploit all possible things, anything that's possible, anything that can be true should be true. And I'm making use of the comment sequence of double hyphen equal to. Reason for that is because if you look at we look at all the SQL databases we have, they have different kind of comment sequence, but the one that is common all across all of them is the double hyphen equal to. So take a look at an instance where we are saying something like select all from products where category equal to electronics. So it's going to select everything inside a product table, then display only the ones that are in the electronics category and display it for you in your application. But when I add or one equal to one, it's going to explore other possibilities, which means it's also possible for other categories too to be true. So it's going to present all other categories as well to me by setting all the possible conditions to true. That is one equal to one. As long as one will always be equal to one, then I'm able to set all possible conditions in this application. I'm able to set all of them to true. So that's how this or one equal to one payload, this is how it works. So I've copied this, go to my Bob suit, and I'll put this in here as a query as a payload I want to make use of. So let me copy this again. Okay, let me put that in my Bob suit. Yeah, please take note that anything I put into that code, anything that's inside that code represents what will be searched for, is what will be communicated to the database. Just like that, or one equal to one and the electronics. So I'll take that and I'm going to put it in my Bob suit to make my search. But please note that I have my comment right there, which is the double hyphen and a single quote. So I'm going to type in single quote just to bring out that one out, just to take that one out, then or one equal to one. But when we're doing this, we need to take note of what is true and what is false. Do you get now? But when we get to that part, I'm going to explain it. But let's look at how many things we have in electronics for now. So right now, if you are looking at what we have in electronics, you can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 products in the category of electronics. So when we set all conditions to true, we need to see things that are in all products, not just electronics. So if all condition is true, then that means we are seeing everything in the things that are in all products, not just electronics. And that's a whole lot of products right now. So we're not just dealing with 6. So when I see more than 6, then that means my payload worked successfully. But if I see less than 6, then that means my payload did not work successfully. So that would be my true and false at this moment. Not that it won't change later, but at this moment. So I'm going to say order by 1. Now, sorry, I mean, or one equal to one, and add my comment. I'll still need to make use of that order by one as well to show you something, but before I get there, let's make use of this for now. So please take note that this is just an explanation for your lab. That does not mean you not explore other possibilities and other things that can be true. Now, as you can see that this returned true to me because it gave me the electronics I was looking for, and it also displayed other possibilities as well, which means other products in the database as well that were being retrieved. So it displays everything to me. Now, what I want to do right now is that I want to perform what they call an SQL injection union attack. What an SQL injection union attack is a type of SQL injection attack that combines two queries together. So the existing query of select all from products where category equal to electronics, then it's also helped me combine another query as well, which will also get executed by making use of what they call the union select query. So union to combine it together, then select to perform a new function. So you can only make use of select after the union. That is why it is union select. So union select whatever you want to select. But there are some requirements which has to be in place. Requirements like the number of columns that is being retrieved by the initial query should be equal to the number of columns that will be retrieved by the next query as well. So if the first query, which is select all from products where category report to electronics, is retrieving two columns, then the next query I'm putting in as well must be retrieving two columns. Now, how do I know this? How do I know the number of columns it's retrieving? I can know that by making use of what they call order by. What this does is by if I say order by one, then my comment, it is going to say true because the number of columns is less or equal to one. But if it happens to be greater or equal to one, then it tells me false. So I know that if I'm looking for true, I can say order by one, then my comment. But when looking for false, I can say order by 1000 because I don't think I can have up to 1000 columns in here. So if I say order by 1000, then I'm expecting to see something like false. So I'll be making use of order by 1000 to check for my false. What would I use to denote false? Then I'll use order by one to know what I'll be using to denote true. So that's what I'll be using throughout the application. What would I say to say false? What would I say to say true? So that's what I want to be making use of right now. So I'm going to say order by 1000 and add my comment, apply my change and say send. Now, once I send this, you will notice that, how do I know this? Let me just copy this in my browser, search for this. Now go to my browser, put that in my browser, paste it in and search. If I scroll down right now, you see I encountered what they call fatal error right here. So that means to represent my false, I can make use of anytime I see fatal error. But instead of coming into the application itself, it would be very stressful having to copy and paste, all the time. So I need to look for a way to be able to put in fatal error. So in my Bob suit, if you check my Bob suit right here, you can see a search panel down there. So in the response, so I'll search for fatal error. This way, anytime I see one alight for fatal error, that means false. And anytime I see zero highlights for fatal error, that means true. So if fatal error does not appear in the application response, it means true. But if fatal error appears in the application response, it means false. To confirm that, let's try order by one equal to one as well. So I will be able to see what it means to get true. So I'm going to change this to 1 instead of 1000, apply my change and say send. So you can see that this shows me zero highlights, which means I did not encounter any fatal error, which means true. Now let's see by 10, apply change and say send. So it says true, it says false, that the column is not greater than 10, that it is less or equal to 10. So it's not even equal to 10, it's not equal to, and it is not greater than 10. So check for 9. Is it equal to 9 or greater than 9? It says false. So when I try 8, 8 says true. Do you get now? When I try 8, it says true. And why do I try it? I've expected this application before, so I know the right number to try. So another method of confirming this, when using order by makes use of, it's either the number you put in is the actual number of columns or the number of columns is less than it. But what about if you want to see the specific one? You can make it what they call the union select null. So the number of null represents the number of columns. So if you have 5 columns and you put in just 4 null, you will encounter false. If you have 5 columns and you put in 6 nulls, you will encounter false. But when you have 5 columns, you have to have 5 null to get true. So I'm going to say union select null 8 times since I get true for null when using order by. I'm going to use union select null 8 times, then try that and see if I get true. Now, reason for union select null is that union select null also allows me to be able to check for the data type an application makes use of. The most interesting data type we all are looking for right now is string. What do I mean by string? What I mean by string is text data that are in text. This includes data like password, orders. Let's just put it generally as most interesting data type. The most interesting data type that every attacker wants to lay their hands on is text, which is also known as string. So that's the most interesting data type everybody wants to actually lay their hands on because password will always be in text, username will always be in text, account number, every kind of details like this are always in text. So for each null, I'll be changing it to a string. A string, I can put it in quotes and put in a name there, maybe a letter. So that makes me put it into a string. That helps me to put it into a string. So if you check for this union select null, you can see it has an extra column at the end with everything being left as empty. No data, but empty. That is null for you. So when I put in a string, it replaces, instead of null, it replaces with that string. So I'm going to test the first position. Same way I'm going to test other positions as well. So I can test as many positions as I want. Let me go to my Bob suit. Sorry, I clicked on something. Let me cancel that. Yeah, thank you. So the first select null. Let me cancel that, put in my string and apply my change, then say send. So this tells me true that that position can take string because I did not encounter any fatal error. So test for second position as well. Apply my changes and say send. Then still I get true. What about the third one? Can I take string data in here? Now, instead of having to do all, I already know this because I've done it before. Every position can take string data. Every column accepts string data. So instead of me having to start battling with which one to take string, which one to take this, I already know that everything takes string data. So, but on your own end, you can try it one after the other to be sure. So you can see this returned true. Good. So I can retrieve my data from any of the columns in there. If you search the browser, let me show you response in browser and say click on organizer. So in my browser, you will see instead of having everything as null, everything will now be changed to A because I was using A as my string. So anything I retrieve in any column will be placed into that position. That's just what this is trying to say to me. So let's continue. Let's see. Go to my Bob suit. Let me see what I can pull up here. But you see, when we're retrieving columns, which column do I want to retrieve? I can't just retrieve any column. I have to first know the tables that exist in this case so that I can know the table I want to retrieve a column from. Now, there's a cheat sheet that allows you to know what type of query to send to the database that gives you this kind of information. So I'm going to browse up for an SQL injection cheat sheet. And there's one SQL injection cheat sheet available on Portswigger, and that's what I'll be making use of. So what the cheat sheet does is that it helps you to simplify the process of you thinking about some particular commands, queries, and things to make use of. Now we have different type of SQL databases. We have PostgreSQL, Oracle SQL, Microsoft SQL, and MySQL, and they all comes with different types of ways to search up for table names and column names. So the most common one across all of them is the information underscore schema dot tables, which is applied for Microsoft, PostgreSQL, and MySQL, except Oracle, which makes use of all underscore tables and all underscore tab underscore columns. So first thing I will do is to assume that the application is making use of either Microsoft, PostgreSQL, or MySQL, since the three has the same commands. Then if that doesn't work, then I'll go for Oracle. So let me start with one of them. I'm going to say select all from information underscore schema dot tables. But don't forget that our union select requirement is that both of it wants to retrieve same number of columns. So I can't just select all columns from the information as for schema.tables. I have to select 8 itself. I have to select 8. So I'm going to be selecting a column there called table underscore name. You might be wondering how I know about the column called table underscore name. You can use Google. Google is your friend. Go to Google, Google search for it. There's a column in the information underscore schema.tables that's been called the table underscore name column. So I'm making use of that column by saying union select null null null, then put in any position I can search for my table underscore name. Let me use the third position right here. Then where am I selecting it from? I want to select all this information, all this null. I want to select it from the information underscore schema dot tables. So that's where I want to select from. So instead of selecting all, I'm selecting just that and the other nulls. So I'm selecting them from the information underscore schema dot tables, and don't forget my comments. as well, you will always see it there. So the comment is very important if you want this to execute properly. So that's why I always have my comments in there. Now, if you look at what we have here, we can see that we did not encounter any error, which means that we're able to retrieve some table names. So let's check our browser, copy, go to the browser, put it in my browser, and I have this. If I scroll to the last down, so down, 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 you're going to see some table names like the administrative role authorizations. And yeah, let me scroll down. See this table name called users and products. Then I also have another table called others. So the others table can help me to manipulate the others of people and even myself. And also because I'm currently logged in as Jordan, and I can also get user credentials from a table called users. And then products, which will contain the products in the database. So I'm much more interested in the table called users. I want to be able to sign into other users' accounts. So how do I know the columns that are present in the table called users? I'll be making use of the select all from information underscore schema dot columns, where the table name is equal to, yeah, the table name we find. So let me edit that in here. So the table name we found is the table called users. So I'm going to change that to equal to users. Don't forget that I'm putting it in quotes. It's just a condition to check. So it's not like I'm retrieving the data in it. I'm just going to check. So instead of having it as information dot underscore schema dot tables, it is now information underscore schema dot columns. So let me change that to from. Then instead of table name, this time I'm retrieving column name. The table name also exists in information underscore schema dot tables dot columns. But what I'm much more interested in right now is not the table name because I already know the table name. What I'm interested in right now is the column name. So I'm going to change this to column name, take my payload and paste in the Bob suit. So to see how this is going to execute. So apply my changes, then say send. So once I send this, I didn't get any fatal error as well. So I'm just going to copy that and show my response in browser as usual. So show response in browser, copy, go to my browser and paste in there. But don't forget that you can also check through the response to see what you need. That's why I scrolled through. So you can see I have the columns email, full name, password, username, and the likes. And I believe everyone is mostly interested in those two columns called username and password. Remember when I tried logging into the application, I saw username and I saw it makes use of the username and password alone to log in, not the emails and full name, and doesn't send code. So I'm going to be retrieving just the username and password since those are just the requirements to sign into the application. So that's what I will just retrieve. So in this table, I'm retrieving the username and I'm retrieving the password. So I can retrieve them on any column, on any of the null, because all of them can take string data. So I can retrieve them on any. So let me search for this as my new payload. Copy, go to Bob suit, paste in my Bob suit. Yeah, you can see I'm using Bob suit community edition because I want everyone to be able to relate to this video. So that's why I'm making use of it. For Akka treat, I'll be making the Bob Pro available to everyone so that everyone can be able to work. But I'll be getting the license key and making it available to most of our people to be able to work with. That's what comes together with the package for Akka treat. Now we have different user credentials right here. You can see Mike, you can see Emma, you can see even Jordan itself, Jordan that we created. Jordan as well is in here. So but I'm much more interested in the user called admin. Yes, I'm much more interested in that user. So yeah. Now the reason why I'm changing this password field is because I noticed that it is retrieving only caps, only uppercase passwords, and I'm not able to tell which one is uppercase and which one is lowercase. So I guess that column is the one manipulating that. So I'm changing that and making corrections. So let me retrieve on another column, show response in browser, and then paste that into search for it. So right now I can see that I have admin and password admin 123. I have John Doe and John Pass. So let me log in as admin. So log out Jordan, and log in as admin. Then password admin123. So let's see if this signs me in. Yeah, hooray, we have administrator user and we are currently logged into that. But there's another vulnerability in here aside that. You can log into any user as long as you know their username. You can log in into any user at all. The reason is because whenever the application wants to, when you want to log in, the application sends this query by saying select all from the table called users, where the username is equal to anything in quote and password is equal to anything in quote as well. So this is what the application sent to the database to see if the user exists or the user does not exist. So this is how it works. So what I'm going to do now is, since I know my comment sequence, I'm going to try in as much as possible to take out that condition of and by saying admin and adding my comment. So it's going to jolly check for if the user admin exists, and then it's going to not execute that part of password. So if the user admin exists, then I'm logged in, but if the user does not exist, then I'm not logged in. So I just put in a random password and say sign in, and then you see I'm still in again. So that's how interesting this SQL injection thing is. That's how interesting it is. And yeah, I believe you're able to get something from this video. If you have any question, please be sure to drop questions in the comment section. And also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and also follow all our social media accounts. Thank you very much for watching.